Hello guys, it's the Unclear 999. Today's video is about the Salem witch trials. The Salem witch trials were one of the most infamous episodes in early American history, unfolding in 1692 in the Puritan town of Salem. They represent a terrifying blend of superstition, fear, religious extremism, and flawed justice, leading to the accusation, trial, and execution of individuals, mostly women, suspected of witchcraft. The hysteria began when a group of young girls in Salem village began to exhibit strange behaviors and claimed to be possessed by the devil. Under pressure, they accused several local women of bewitching them. This sparked a frenzy of paranoia that quickly escalated beyond control. Puritan beliefs, which included a literal fear of the devil and an obsession with sin, created fertile ground for such panic. The courts accepted spectral evidence, testimony that the spirit or specter of the accused had harmed the victim, which was impossible to prove or disprove. As the trials progressed, more than 200 people were accused, and 20 were executed, including 19 by hanging and 1 by being pressed to death with heavy stones. Dozens of others languished in jail, many dying from the harsh conditions. The Salem witch trials revealed the dangers of mass hysteria, theocratic rule, and the erosion of due process. Over time, public opinion turned against the trials. In later years, those involved in the prosecutions expressed regret, and the colony eventually compensated some of the families of the victims. The Salem witch trials remain a cautionary tale about what can happen when fear overrides reason. Justice is tainted by ideology, and society allows the vulnerable to be scared. Even today, they serve as a powerful reminder of the importance of protecting civil liberties and resisting the lure of moral panic. The Salem witch trials did not occur in a vacuum. They were the product of a deeply religious and tightly controlled Puritan society that viewed the world in stark terms of good and evil. Life in the Massachusetts Bay Colony was harsh, and colonists were surrounded by threats. Native American tribes resisting encroachment, political instability following the loss of their original charter, and outbreaks of disease and famine. These external pressures, combined with an internal culture that feared the wrath of God and saw the devil as an active, looming presence, created a volatile emotional and psychological environment. In this atmosphere, the odd behavior of a few young girls, whether caused by stress, attention-seeking psychological disorders, or even poisoned rye, as some historians have speculated, was quickly interpreted through the lens of witchcraft. Once the accusations began, they were difficult to stop. People used the trials as opportunities to settle old grudges, take over land, or remove social Even those who were respected in the community were not immune. The trials exposed the fragility of social bonds in Salem, and how quickly fear could override neighborly trust. The legal proceedings themselves were deeply flawed. The use of spectral evidence meant that an accuser could claim to see the ghostly form of someone attacking them in dreams or visions, and the court would accept this as valid proof. There was no way for the accused to defend themselves against such intangible charges. Those who confessed to witchcraft were often spared the gallows, while those who maintained their innocence were executed, creating a cruel paradox that punished honesty and rewarded deceit. This inversion of justice caused deep moral confusion. Furthermore, the leadership in Salem and the surrounding areas initially supported the trials, with clergy like Cotton Mather urging caution but not condemning the process. Only later, after the damage had been done, did figures like Increase Math speak out more forcefully against the validity of spectral evidence and the proceedings as a whole. As the hysteria grew, it began to consume even those who had once felt safe. Prominent individuals, wealthy landowners, and even clergy came under suspicion. The sheer scale of the accusations overwhelmed the justice system, and doubts began to form in the minds of those who had once supported the trials. Eventually, Governor William Phipps intervened, disbanding the Special Court of Oyer and Terminer, and later prohibiting further arrests. Trials continued under new guidelines, but with much greater skepticism and caution. Most of the remaining prisoners were released, and no further executions occurred after September 1692. The damage, however, had been done. Families were torn apart, reputations destroyed, and an entire community left traumatized. In the years that followed, efforts were made to reckon with the tragedy. Jurors and judges issued public apologies. In 1711, the Massachusetts government passed a bill restoring the rights and good names of many of the accused and granting financial restitution to their heirs, yet the scars of Salem endured for generations. Today, the Salem witch trials are studied as a stark example of the dangers of extremism, scapegoating, and unchecked authority. They are referenced in literature, most notably in Arthur Miller's play The Crucible, which uses the trials as an allegory for McCarthyism in 1950s America. Salem has become a symbol not just of injustice, but of how fragile civilization can be when it is ruled by fear instead of reason. Modern America looks back at the trials with a mixture of shame and fascination, recognizing that similar impulses, moral panic, intolerance, the persecution of those seen as others still emerge in different forms. The tragedy of Salem teaches us to question authority, to protect due process, and to remain vigilant against groupthink and mass hysteria. It is a haunting legacy, but also a powerful lesson in the need for justice, empathy, and the courage to stand against the tide when society is swept up in fear.